So, good afternoon, class, especially to you, Mr. Raymond Indangan. Our class, this afternoon, I have to report or discuss to you my report 1 and 2. My report 1 or my first report have a two topics or two lessons, while the second report have two lessons also. So by the way, I am Bustamante Crystalmi E based for mathematics. I am your presenter. So before we start our lessons, we must or should pray. Gracious God, thank you for the blessing of education. I'm grateful for my teachers, classmates, and the chance to expand my knowledge. Help me to appreciate every lesson, even the challenging ones. Open my eyes to the ways in this learning can help me serve others. Amen. So, class, this is for my report number 1. My first topic is all about the review of algebra and concepts. Our learning objectives for this topic: students will be able to describe mathematical ideas from multiple perspectives, explain fundamental mathematical concepts, or analysis of real-world problems to non-mathematicians. Be able to distinguish a coherent argument from a fallacious one, both in mathematical reasoning and in every life. And students acquire and enhance these abilities in algebraic geometry context rather. A review of algebra covers fundamental operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponents, and solving equations with variables, while a review of key geometry concepts would include points, lines, angles, shapes like triangles and circles, their properties and spatial relationships, with a strong focus on applying algebraic concepts to solve geometric problems through coordinate geometry. Variables and expressions. Using letters to represent unknown values and combining them with operations to form expressions. Equations. Statements where two expressions are set equal to each other, allowing for solving for unknown variables. Solving linear equations. Isolating a variable by performing inverse operations on both sides of an equation. Inequalities. Relationships between quantities using symbols like greater than, less than, greater than or and equal to, or less than and equal to, and solving for the variable inequalities. Solving linear equations. Isolating a variable by performing inverse operation on both sides of an equation. Exponents and radicals. Operations involving powers and roots. Factoring. Breaking down expressions into simpler components by finding common factors. Key geometry concepts. Basic elements of geometry concepts are points, lines, planes. These are the basic elements. Angles. Measuring angles in degrees Types of angles: acute, obtuse, right, straight, and straight angle. Lines and angles relationships: parallel lines, perpendicular lines, angle relationships like vertical angles, alternate interior angles. Polygons: shapes with straight sides and vertices, including triangles, quadrilaterals, squares, rectangles, rhombus, trapezoids, and their properties. Perimeter and area: calculating the distance around the polygon, which is the perimeter, and the space enclosed within a polygon. Area. Circles: circumference, radius, diameter, and area of a circle. The diameter is a center of a circle. Radius is the lines of a radius is 1/4 that line form circle. 3D shapes: solids like cubes, rectangular prisms, cylinders, spheres, and calculating their surface area and volume. So, class, what have you learned from this topic all about review of concepts of algebra? Okay, thank you. That's good. Okay. Diane, okay. Excellent. Absolute value. This is the second topic for my report 1. Learning objectives. Our learning objective for this topic: students will be able to defining absolute value geometrically, calculating distances using absolute value, interpreting absolute value in geometric context, connecting absolute value to real-world situations, and solving geometric problems involving absolute value. In geometry, absolute value refers to the distance of a point on a number line from zero, essentially meaning the magnitude of a number without considering its sign. It is always a positive value and is represented by two vertical lines around the number. This one is essentially signifying how far a number is from zero, not which direction it is from zero on a number line. Example for this. This is the example. -5 to +5. The absolute value of 5 is equal to 5 because 5 is 5 units away from 0 on the number line. Excuse me. For example number 2, the absolute value of -5 is also 5. The absolute value of a number may be thought of as its distance from 0 along real number line. Absolute value of -5 is equal to +5. Even it is a negative number, it equals to positive number always. Remember that, class. Keep notes about that for absolute value topic. So, that's those are my report number 1. So for my report number 2 or second report, these are: the first topic is all about area. Learning objectives. Students will be able to understand the area is measured by equal sized squares, know a quick method of finding the area of rectangles, to be able to break shapes down into rectangles to calculate their areas. In geometry, area is the amount of space of a two-dimensional shape occupies. It can be calculated by multiplying the length and width of a shape. The area is expressed in units squared, such as squared centimeters, centimeters squared, or square feet. The area of rectangle is length times width. In rectangle, the line below is the length, while the width is here. In square, the area of square is length times width also, but the difference between of these two is the square have length times width area, but the length is here and the width is here. In circle, the area is pi r squared. The pi r is equal to 3.14. But in circle, area is equal to pi r squared. In triangle, the area of a triangle is 1/2 multiplied by base times height, or 1/2 times base times height. Here is the height and here is the base. In parallelogram, the area of it is base times height. This is the height and this is the base. In trapezoid, the area of it is 1/2 multiplied by 1 plus base. The area of it is 1/2 multiplied by A, which is the base, plus B, which is the base also, multiplied by the height. Here is the height. Example of area squared, or area of the square, is calculated by multiplying the length by the width. For example, if a square has the side length of 3 units, then its area is 3 times 3 equals 9 square units. For example, rectangle, the area of a rectangle is calculated by multiplying the length by the width. For example, rectangle, the area for example, if the rectangle has a length of 200 feet and a width of 100 feet, then its area is 200 times 100 is equals to 20,000 square feet. In circle, the area of a circle is calculated using the formula A is equal to pi r squared, where r is the radius of the circle. So that's all about the area of each shapes in geometry. So may I know, what have you learned? What have you learned? Oh, good. Daisy? Okay, excellent. Thank you. So, this is my second topic, or the last topic in my second report, or report number 2. The learning objectives of it is students will be able to identify and describe the properties of three-dimensional shapes of or geometric solids, including cubes, rectangular prisms, and triangular pyramids. Understand how the number of faces, edges, and vertices differ for each shape and how these properties define the shape. Learn to differentiate between the three-dimensional shapes presented in the lesson. Basic solids are three-dimensional shapes or solids in geometry. They have length, width, and height and take up space. This is the height, the length, and this is the width or the breadth. Examples of basic solids: cube, a solid with 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. Prisms, a prism, a rectangular or triangular box with an equal number of faces, vertices, and edges as the polygon of its base. Cone, a solid with a circular base and a single vertex and called the apex. Pyramid, a solid with a base that can be any polygon and 3 or more triangular faces that meet at the apex. Sphere, a solid that is the set of points in a three-dimensional space that are all the same distance from a center point. Cylinder, a solid that is shaped like a tube. Properties of solid shapes. Solid shapes have faces, edges, and vertices. The faces of a solid shape are two-dimensional shapes. The properties of a prism depend on the shape of its base. Solid geometry. Solid geometry or stereometry is the study of three-dimensional, and it deals with the measurements of volume for different solids. And that's all. Thank you, class, for listening these 4 topics for my report number 1 and 2. And especially to you, Mr. Raymond Indangan. Thank you so much. Good afternoon once again.